Now, no sensitive Catholic can say that without having grave doubts as to whether actually he isn't going to do some of these things again. So if you're a workaday Catholic, like a Mexican peasant or something like that, you know that the confession is just a safety valve. You're going to go on living just as lackadaisically as ever, but you go to church every so often and you get rid of the guilt and the evil. It's like going to the bathroom. But when you get thoughtful about these things and you wonder whether you do really mean what you say, whether your motive is pure and your intention is right, you get into a frightful hang-up. And one of the reasons that our technology is impeded and prevented from feeding the world properly is the failure of one of our networks. It's an information network, and it's called money, about which we have the most unbelievable superstitions and psychological blocks, which have been gone into at some length by Freud, who equates our valuation of money with our attitude to excrement, and a very complicated lot of complexes grow up around that. But money and our psychological attitude to money is a major obstacle to a proper development of technology, enabling it to do what it is supposed to do, that is, to save labor and to produce goods, services, and so on adequately. So I must introduce this with a story which is entirely legendary, indeed quite apocryphal. The great banks of the world at one time got absolutely sick of the expense and security measures involved in shipping consignments of gold from one bank to another. And so they decided that all the chief banks of the world would open offices on a certain island in the South Pacific, which was balmy and comfortable, and there they would store all the gold in the world. And they put it in great subterranean vaults reached by deep elevator shafts. And then all they had to do when one bank or one country owed gold to another was to trundle it across the street. And this was very efficient. And it went on beautifully for 5 or 6 years. And then the presidents of the world banks got together and said, let's have a convention out on this island and take our wives and families. So about 7 years from the date of opening, all those presidents and their wives and families went out to this Pacific island, and they inspected the books, and everything was beautifully in order. Then the children said, oh, Daddy, can't we see the gold? They said, of course you may see the gold. And they said to the managers, let's take our children down to the vaults and show them the gold. And the managers said, well, it's a little bit inconvenient at this time, and perhaps the children would not really be very interested. After all, it's just only old plain gold. And the president said, oh, no, come now. They'd be thrilled. Let's go down and see. And there was further humming and hawing and delays. And finally it came out that a few years before there had been a catastrophic subterranean earthquake. And all the vaults had been swallowed up and all the gold had disappeared. But so far as the bookkeeping was concerned, everything was in perfect order. What this means then is that money is nothing but bookkeeping. It is figures. It is a way of measuring what you owe the community and what the community owes you. It is, of course, as you all know, a substitute for barter. if you worked on a farm and the farmer paid you in terms of ears of corn, onions, cabbages, and other vegetables, and yet you wanted a pot and pan of some kind, and you took a few vegetables over to the man who so made pots and pans, and you swapped. Some people used cowrie shells to stand for money so that you wouldn't have to barter and carry around all these inconvenient loads of goods. And then, of course, gold was used, because gold was rare, and because gold was supposed to have a constant value. You might ponder the question, when a banker buys gold, with what does he pay for it? The answer is a mystery called credit. Because the amount of gold in the world did not provide an adequate channel for the circulation of goods and services, all great industrial nations went heavily into debt. But the reason for the increase of the national debt is extremely obvious. It is that with an expanding gross national product, there needs to be more and more money, that is to say, tokens of exchange, in order to circulate the amount of goods produced, which is ever increasing. Now, I'm not an economist, and I can refer you to the work of those who really are. But any fool can see certain extremely fundamental principles about this whole situation.
So, this is the thing to realize about this, which I realized after studying this for a little bit. But they're always asking, where will the money come from? And the fact is, what he's saying is new ways of producing or doing huge amounts of what's valued and what we need and want are being used and invented all the time. Not to see that production increases because of innovation is to expect that the prerequisite for building a new operation point as discovering a new gold mine or other resource, but that's not true. The opposite happened. All the physical resources got used up and got vacuumed up by the amount of value being generated as it's literally manifested into existence by these invention methods. So we write down money as a number to reflect that. And so as that amount of money goes up and up and up, they say, well, that just decreases the value of everybody's currency. Mathematically, maybe so, but what it actually does is it makes all the money worth a much, much greater amount. It puts so much more wealth into the world that each money is worth more wealth now than it was before. And that's the thing no one is admitting. That's the thing that no one will admit, that the gold was lost. The new money, the new innovation has vacuumed up all the money that we started with. And so now the only thing left to do is issue it back out as a token credit in the recognition that the only value being generated now is completely automatic. And that's just not happening. Upon studying Alan Watts, it occurred to me that social order is a circle. That is the ultimate final math about money. Theft is a straight line, it's a dead end that leads to nowhere. The circle is necessarily the definition of the value feeding back into the start point. Otherwise, it's not value. Society can't value what doesn't flow back into itself. We don't value that. Now, basic income is the reintroduction of the circle. Once you take away spending power out of the monopolistic hands of the industries who have perpetuated the dead-end straight line, all companies who do not adapt to that and who do not adopt a sustainable, possible labor system, i.e. those who try to jack up their prices like the landlords have done, those entities will fail very, very quickly once everybody has the spending power of a basic income system that properly honors the circle model. They will just simply fall away. Only those who adapt to everybody having spending power again, being the monopoly over the demand taken away from the big straight line theft tycoons, will go forward, and those ones will be doing amazing. They will get all the benefit of the social spending on what's actually valuable. And that's the fix. The circle is reintroduced with basic income.